Welcome back to the podcast. We are here with Corine Lafont, and Corine has been a PR practitioner for the past 10 years. She lived in Jamaica. Now she's back in her home of Trinidad and Tobago. She has been a Toastmaster since 2012 and held the position of PR manager at the division and district level. And Corine will be talking to us about PR, communications, branding, protocol, etiquette, and how that all relates to her and her business, making money, having fun, delivering your message, changing the world, all that fun stuff. So glad to have you on the program.
It'll be great to spend the rest of my life with you, Robert, because clearly that all of that will have to be done in the rest of our lives.
Yes, it is never-ending work. And the thing that impresses me the most about you, the thing that drew me to you is I was making that deliberate effort to appear on other podcasts, to contact other podcasts. I went to a podcasting directory. And as you know, everyone is fine being on your podcast. But then when it's time to return the favor, it's always difficult, right? They don't want to help you out. They don't want to give you your buzz, your marketing. But what really impressed me about you and your listing in the podcast directory was you said, be a guest on my show, and then in return, I will be a guest on your show. And I was very impressed with that because so many times some people are good at their relationships, but there's no system, right? There's no method to the madness. Yeah. But I just mean in general, like sometimes people are relationship people and there's no system. And some people are all about the system and the checklist, but there's no relationship. So what's good about you, from what I know from you so far already being on your show, is you sort of have both, right? You have the people skills, but also the system, so that way it's repeatable. So yeah, what's on your mind? What has been your focus lately in your business?
You know, a lot of things have been on my mind. A lot of things, coming to the end of the year. But for me, it's always throughout the year. But especially coming to the end of the year as entrepreneurs, we tend to kind of roll a lot of things. What has happened in the past year, how we would want to do things differently, some new ideas coming forward that I want to implement, that I started implementing. I'm not finished, putting the things together because it's all technology. And, you have to make sure you have to put all the dominoes in place. So when one is knocked over, everything is going to work. But it's really about building relationships. That's what I'm about. I'm about building relationships, trying to meet as many people as possible that would be willing and able to work with me in whatever capacity. But the struggle with that is there are people who look at you and say, you're not the type of person I want to work with, in the sense that you don't have so many followers, you don't have the amount of statistics, you're not as an influencer, you're probably not this particular race, you're not in the particular location. It's a lot of things. I wouldn't want to say working against you. Their criteria that they use is what they use. And it may eliminate, I would tell you, the possibility of having something really, really good coming out of that relationship if you just take the chance. Entrepreneurship is about taking the risk and not just seeing the picture that you want, but there may be something bigger behind that you are not seeing. And if you just allow things to happen, it will manifest itself. I have had summits that I put on almost every year, and I reach out to people. I reach out to my list of people who are guests on my show. First of all, they are my core group who have been guests on my podcast. And then I reach outward after that. And I don't ask people how many followers you have, what's your influence, how many Twitters, how many this, how many. I don't ask that. If somebody is willing to be a speaker and can bring value and can follow the instructions that is given, I am there to support you, because I believe we are all trying in the same space to get somewhere. Wherever that somewhere is, we are trying to get somewhere. And the most beautiful thing is having a picture in your mind of what that somewhere may be or is, and then the unexpected things happen that you never anticipated that is even better than that thing that you picture in your mind. and so you end up gelling with someone, you end up relating so well that you want to continue working, or you put people onto other people, get into more of the network that persons can work with. So I am all about building relationships. I'm all about being authentic. I am about, just seeing where life takes me. I I don't believe in planning. I used to at one point. The pandemic has taught many people that, hey, all your plans, forget it. you know, don't even think about planning. And I'm not saying that people just throw things to the wind, although that's a great way to live. But you can have things in your mind that you can start putting in place, putting little things in place, setting things up, but don't hold it to your chest in a way that, oh, I'm going to hold on to this. And, don't be so tight about it. Just put things in place as much as you can and let it go. And as you see opportunities, because opportunities keep coming in my inbox every day, it's amazing. It might be in alignment with the things that I think about and what I want to do. And I'm like, whoa, this is good. Where did you come from? It might stir the pot a bit because I might have been leaning towards something else. And then this thing comes up and it's in such alignment with what I want to do. And I'm like, oh, I feel this. This is resonating with me. And you may have to shift. So be liquid, be flexible, be open, be malleable. That's what it is. Be resilient. Don't be so tight about anything because things may come that may be better and you just ignore it because you're so fixated on this particular path.
I like that a lot. Be dynamic, be adaptable. And
right.
and the thing that I'm having in my mind as you're saying this is it's still important to have a plan because you're saying that trap number one is having no plan and then you don't even know where you're ending up. And then trap number two is the other extreme where your plan is so rigid that you may miss good opportunities along the way, or you may shoot yourself in the foot because life never goes as planned. There's always some unexpected difficulties, roadblocks. And then even the final outcome may be about 20% different than what you expected. And then at that point, it's time to then readjust and head towards the next goal. And what you're saying about what you've learned and what you're good at is have these relationships and don't just look at the numbers. Don't just look at what's on paper, number of followers, have this core group. And you know what, Corine, this is something that it took me a few years to figure out because you always think about creating content, blogging, warming up your list, podcasting. And once I realized, man, a podcast, instead of it being me clicking the record button and talking about topic one, topic two, topic three, instead get other people on the show and then have all this back and forth. And then now you have these possibilities, right? Now you can be on their show, they can promote your show. And then you even mentioned that kind of three-way opportunity where let's say someone needs help with this, but you can't provide it, but you know someone who knows it and you connect those people. Now you win on both sides. So there's a lot of bigger picture thinking outside the box happening.
That's right. That's right. I couldn't do a podcast with me alone speaking. When I was setting up my podcast, I thought of that. I was like, how am I going to do my podcast? Should I do it myself talk? I'm like, that makes no sense. I don't feel good about that. That's not bringing joy to me. I'm hearing my own self. I'm talking to myself. It's not that I haven't done it. So for example, right now, I am doing a 12 days countdown to Christmas, when series on my Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I'm talking, but it's like I'm talking, it's live. So I'm talking to people. Some people engage, some people don't. It doesn't matter to me. But I'm sharing my experience. So I see it as more a video journal. So I am journaling my own experience on video sharing. Somebody may see it at some point. It doesn't matter to me. I am just sharing. I'm just documenting this thing. So I don't know how far that will reach. Now with my podcast, because I wanted to meet people from all over the world, have that intellectual banter. I thrive on that. I love intellectual banter and just challenge each other, question. I think that is more engaging. People want to hear that back and forth, go this way, go that way, and leave with making their own decisions, whether they agree, disagree, have their own opinion. I think it's more interactive. So I went that way. And so this is why I did the podcast exchange extravaganza, because I know people, I thought of a marketing approach where I wouldn't have to spend money, obviously, and it would allow me to get on other people's podcasts. Other people will hear me, hopefully, once it's promoted and all of that. And you just never know who may listen to it and find me. It's the same for you being on my podcast or any other podcaster being on my podcast. And somebody listen and they may end up reaching out to me and say, hey, can I meet that guy? Can I meet that girl? Can I, you just never know. It's free marketing. It's somebody you would have never met before, and you just don't know the relationships. Since I've been doing it over the past few months, there are persons who just absolutely love the experience of what they had with me. And they're like, Corine, I just have to work with you. Let's find a way to do something. And I'm like, sure, whenever you're ready, whatever you're thinking about, let's talk about it and we'll see how it goes, But I am always open to discussing, to reaching out to see. It doesn't matter, I met you, I met other people as a result of putting that and saying, hey, let's have this exchange. I do this for you, you do this for me. No, I have done it. And there are persons who haven't followed through. They may have booked and they were supposed to be on my show and they fell through. I don't worry about those. I don't think about those. It wasn't meant to be. There are people who probably may have been on my show. My show airs live. And there are others who it doesn't. And I have to wait till probably next year for me to see the recording of what we did. That is just part of whatever it is. So I am now assessing, I think, like I mentioned to you, evaluating this whole process, because I did the test of it to be able to know how am I moving forward with that same marketing strategy in 2022 and beyond, because I want to continue it, but it clearly has to be tweaked in order to meet certain objectives that I would want to happen, as well as for others to benefit from mine, so because it has to be equitable. It has to be equitable. And right now I'm not sensing that equity. And so I need to make the necessary adjustments for that to happen, that equitable, reciprocation. It just like any other relationship. I can't be in a relationship with you, Robert, and I'm giving 100% and you giving 20. I mean, something has got to give, you know what I'm saying? So we have to have equity. We have to have balance.
And so what I'm getting from you is that it's a numbers game. And if it's a numbers game, then that means that there's maybe like 3 or 4 different kind of strategies that need to be put in place in the correct order, where step number 1 is you just do something, right? You just take some action. You say, I'll do this podcast exchange extravaganza. Let me take some action. And then step 2, you measure the results. And then you say, okay, is based on this input, when I contact this number of people, I get this number of podcast guests. And that translates to this number of leads, this number of clients, this number of sales. You look at the input and the output. And then so that's like step 1, you do something. Step 2, look at the output. Step 3, now you're saying, am I happy with the output, or are there tweaks, or are there changes I can make to get the same amount in less time, or get better results, or maybe bolt on or remove things from the system, and then kind of repeat the process. So that way you're kind of alternating between the creativity, the randomness, the fun ideas, and then switching to more logical, analytical, and saying, what did that get me? And then is that something I want to stop doing, or something that I want to continue doing? And it seems like a lot of people, they relied on too much one or the other, right? There's too much of the numbers, the accounting, there's no imagination, or there's imagination and they don't even know what is coming back. So it's interesting kind of hearing your thought process that you'd say, when it's appropriate to measure the results, I do that. When it's appropriate to do something fun and never tried before, then I'll play and I'll experiment.
Yeah. And the rain is coming down more now. And you notice my area has become even darker. I depend on natural light. So forgive me for that. Rain is pouring like cats and dogs, But and I like the beginning process. Just take action, which is the hardest part. A lot of people just don't take action. They want everything to be lined up, in place. I don't care. I just take action. I mean, I set something up that I could feel satisfied with. And I just tweak as I go along. And when it's necessary, I do the necessary evaluation. I look at certain things. It mightn't even be numbers. It mightn't even be numbers necessarily. It's like I said, the quality of everything. And I'll tell you something, it allows me to experience how other people do their podcast and ask myself, okay, I'm seeing how Robert is doing his. He's probably in this room, well lit, whatever. What do I need to change in terms of mine? He has a desk around him. Should I put a desk by, and you can also do the same. You can also look at the way I am doing mine and say, oh, what can I learn from Corine? So it's, when I say equitable and balanced, it's all of that learning. It's not only necessarily numbers. For me, it's always about quality over quantity. What's the quality? Because that is going to help create a sustainable and repeatable process. So for example, I mean, like my podcast, I can speak to data and all of that. A lot of people say, oh, I got so many downloads. I got so many downloads of this and so many. I can't say that. Honestly, I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, I am still building my data in terms of that. But what do I get? I get people writing into me and I mean, repeat guests. They are constantly coming back on my show. That's one thing for sure. They are constantly referring guests to me. That's a constant thing. They are constantly giving me positive rave reviews. Okay. So there's a follow-up and engagement, which I post and I share all over on social media and tag them on it. So people can see it's not my words, it's their actual words that I use and they are tagged. So if there's a lie, they could say, yes, it's a lie, but it has never happened. There is a building of collaboration. So the relationship is not only for that particular day, it continues for a lifetime if necessary. There are people who, like I say, I call on summits and conferences, and I may have no attendees, but what do I have? I have a relationship with somebody that I can depend on, call on. I can say, hey, let's build out a course on this. I like that. Let's do this, let's do that, or let's get together and do a book, whatever it may be. So it's not only the numbers, it's the quality of that relationship. I want when people leave my presence, when they interact with me, it's always a positive one. They feel energized. They feel that, I left them with value. I brought something to their podcast or whatever the relationship or collaboration may be. It may not give us the numbers yet. Okay, it may not give us the numbers yet, but it will come, So yes. You have to know, because the other thing is you are going into it with the numbers in your mind and you don't get it. And you're like, this is a total failure. This makes no sense. I'm not doing this again. No, that's not how it works. At least not in my mind and in my book. That's not how it works. You have to keep at it. You build it. I have loads of content that I need to really distill and do a lot of work with, but you just can't stop at that. You have to know what really matters to you the most.
And what I'm getting from you is that you're saying that this goal, this outcome you have, it does not necessarily have to be numbers. And my thinking is it can be, am I showing up to my appointments? Am I talking to at least someone this week, or at least someone today? That's or right. Am I putting in the time, the work that I told myself I was going to put into this podcast every week when I started? That's and right. So even just showing up is part of it. And you're reminding me that there are so many times when with this podcasting thing, sometimes I think, oh, I don't really want to meet. Let's see, is it 10:30? Is it time to meet with Corine already for my podcast show? And it's so easy to sometimes flake to not stick with my commitments. And there's all these little reminders where I always tell myself that I usually dread up until a podcast interview or a meeting, but 2 minutes in, I'm thinking, I'm so glad I did this. I'm so glad I'm here. And even near the end of the meeting, I'm thinking like, why was I being negative? Why was I trying to talk myself out of it? So many things are just like practice, repetition. And that way you have the reminders to yourself to push through, even if you don't really feel like taking the action. But as soon as you start, then it's fun and you're glad that you did it.
I am so glad you mentioned that, because that is exactly what I mentioned on my 12 days countdown to Christmas, when on Facebook. You should check it out. And I set this thing, it's amazing. I tell you, it's inspiration. I take no credit from it, for it. And I was like, God, help me with this. And he gave me everything that I needed. Within the same day, I set up everything. And in the evening, I started with the 12-day countdown. And I was like, like one day passed, going to the 11th day, I'm like, Jesus, why do I need to be doing this? Sometimes I forget that I'm supposed to be live doing this on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And I'm like, I said it even live publicly. I said, this is forcing me to be consistent. This is forcing me to do something that I may not want to do or like to do or have to do, but I just do it, and it is forcing me to be disciplined, to show up even when I don't want to. I just wish if that sort of discipline can transition into exercise and other areas of my life. But I'm taking time with it. I'm taking time with it. But you're absolutely right. And I have a few more days to go. I have to do one this evening until the 24th. So I have to show up for the next few days. And I show up because I don't want to be a disappointment. That day that I may not show up, maybe the day a lot of people may be trying to listen because they may have heard about it in the past few days and they didn't get to come on, but they have the time now. So, you have to show up no matter what. Sometimes you're having a webinar. Sometimes you're having a training, a workshop. Nobody shows on that day. That's okay. You do it anyway. You do it anyway. You produce the content and you do it anyway. And you can decide how you can set it up as an evergreen or how you plan to use it after that. You can generate an income. You could give it away for free to build a list. There's value in everything. It's not only a matter of money, but there's value. And like I say, there's value in the list. You don't know what that list could convert to for you,
Yes. And as you're explaining this, what's happening in my imagination is there's two boxes and there's a divider in the middle. And for me, the divider is discipline or showing up. And what separates, and the two things that are being separated is there's kind of the you in the moment who may feel like taking action or may feel like doing this or not. And then there's the long-term you. There's the you that looks into the past and in the future and says, I'm glad I was consistent with all my appointments. I'm glad I put in the work. I'm looking forward to the things happening in the future. And if you can know that, well, you just push through the discipline to become that better person. Now you have more choices. And I think that's what it comes down to, right? You and I are talking about the size of your list, having these followers that are expecting you to do your webinars, having all these relationships with people you connect with in your podcast. The bigger those things are, the more opportunities, the more choices, the more options that you have, which equals freedom. And so the choice is either don't put in the hard work, don't do these things, and it'll be fine for now. But in the future, you won't have as much freedom as if you were aware of a few things, you had some discipline, you did what you had to do to grow your network, and now you can choose all of these people to have on your podcast. Now you can choose who to take on as clients, what price to have, how to repurpose these webinars. Now you have more of a choice. And I think that's where we want to be. And so I want to make sure that we cover in these last few minutes what you have going on, your websites, your offers. One thing to keep in mind is that we want to make this evergreen, as you said, and this episode will be coming out in early February. So the 12 days of Christmas is really cool, except for it won't apply in February, but I'm sure in February you'll have some new kind of sequence happening. So as far as the world of Corine Lafont and your websites and your business, where can we find out about you and what has you excited about the future?
I would correct you on something there before I share my website. The 12 days countdown to Christmas, even though it's the 12 days countdown, it's not Christmas related. The tips that I share is relevant throughout your life. So even if this is published in February, March, whenever, the information that I share is relevant to you. It is not Christmas related. I just use the countdown to get people engaged, because everybody does a 12 on the 12th day of Christmas story thing. So I just use that. But the information is relevant at any time of your life. Persons can contact me at lafontassociates.com. That's LAFONTAND associates.com. Once you go there, you can get me anyhow. Facebook, on my social links are there, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. The only thing missing is Instagram, and my YouTube channel to my podcast is there. And of course, persons can book a free 15 minutes consultation. There's a booking link there, as well as they can book to come on my show as a guest. What else is happening for me? Just being at peace, loving life, appreciating that I'm still here. There must be a reason why I'm still here. And so I am pursuing that until it's the end of my time. And in the meantime, between that and then, I am trying to impact as many lives as possible, while at the same time having people impact my life to make me a better version of myself.
Very inspiring. Wonderful. And you always hear about this person has health issues or this celebrity died. And if you're healthy, if you're mentally aware, if you are living and breathing, then you have it. You have it so good. You don't even know how good you have it. Yes.
Even if you have whatever you have, be thankful. You have pain, be thankful, because pain is an indication to say something is going on and you need to check it out. If you're having headaches, like I have been having migraines, it's an indication of something, and I just deal with it and cope with it. Be thankful, because the more thankful you are, you live a life of gratitude, it's the more things that come to you to be thankful for. Don't gripe, stop complaining. We don't have time for that. It actually makes you get older, wither away, and live a very Grinch life. So let's not be like that. Let's come back to the childlike bliss and joy and innocence that we're supposed to be living.
Fabulous. I love it. Don't squander it. Be thankful, be grateful. And the very next step to take is to go to lafontassociates.com. Go there, check out the site, check out what Corine has on social media, book the call with her. That way you can make sure that you make the most out of your public relations sort of opportunities. You're getting yourself out there. You can book yourself on her podcast. You can overcome whatever low confidence, low self-esteem, shyness, and become the person that you're meant to be and grow your message, get your business growing and thriving. lafontassociates.com. And thank you, Corine, for showing up. Now we're friends for life. Now we need to be in each other's world and be in each other's podcast forever and ever, right?
Amen to that. I'm ready. 2022, here we come, Robert.
All right. 2022 will not know what's coming. Look out, 2022. It's Corine and Robert.
That's right. That's right.